kind of do want a bit of engage coming out from Ming. I'm saying that they might actually lean into the Renata, right? The anti-dive, especially against things like a Kennen, which has like a limited amount of burst. Renata can be very effective with the Aphelios.
Absolutely, and again, look at the champions that JDG have drafted for themselves so far. Leona, Xayah, Kennen, relatively short-range composition that do need to be fairly close to you in order to be doing damage. But now, JDG, they've got to pick their mid laner. They will be able to get a pseudo counter pick, shall we say, into the Ahri. And honestly, much like game one, this Ryze will do fairly well in the laning phase and will just scale into an Uber tank.
Yeah, something I'm going to say here, though. I mean, I expect we'll probably have an AD jungler come out from Kanavi, but a lot of AP on the side of JDG already. And if Hope falls behind on the Xayah, you could see them struggling a bit. But so far, RNG doesn't have anyone who's too tanky, and it looks like they might look towards the Hecarim, which you've seen mostly ignored so far this series, despite the priority in general. And I think a lot of the reason is that we see people looking for more early pressure in the junglers in the LPL, right? Hecarim, somebody can be bullied out early. We've seen lots of examples where people look to challenge it and invade it in the jungle. Now, I think Viego is a pick where you're not threatened too much, so they're comfortable with go with this. And right now, JDG, no, they're going to have mid priority. They have that roam potential to Ryze. They have insane dive threat, team fight potential, and lockdown. But I feel like if the fight extends, if RNG get a reset, their comp just is absolutely stellar. And if they go for this Gragas, it's going to be able to farm up fine into the Kennen, but also they disengage, the peel, right? You basically sit on Gala on this Aphelios, and anyone who comes close, you dispatch them, you lock them down, and that's when the resets start to come in the chase potential. So I actually really like RNG's composition, and I feel like with Kanavi no longer on the likes of the Lee Sin, maybe this is one where they're not going to bounce back so hard in the mid game. But I'll still say JDG, we saw them expertly handling those skirmishes come mid game, and they have the tools, they have the Yagao Ryze as well.
That's the big thing. Again, JDG, as much as we love to see them as an early game, you know, kind of Kanavi activity, this hasn't been about the early game. RNG have won both early games. In terms of the pre-15 minutes, RNG have been on top more in one game than the other. But it has been about those mid games. It's about being smart with your engages. It's been smart about where you're taking your fights. And honestly, JDG have just been that. They've just been smarter, better at executing what their composition is. And just honestly, just looking like the much better team on the day. RNG, you need to step up. We know they can, but it's similar to when we were watching the EDG series earlier in the playoffs. Yes, Scout had a godlike performance on his ear. That was one game at a 0-2 where he had to do it 3 times in a row, and he couldn't.
I think one thing to be said is, RNG have won both 80 games, but this composition, you want to be ahead, you want to get control of areas early, and you want JDGB coming into you so that you just basically use your disengage tools effectively. I think if RNG fall behind, whether it's early or whether it's in the mid game, it becomes very hard, because again, they don't have Ming on an engaged champion you can just force in. Wei also on the Viego, it's not like the Hecarim where you just charge forwards. You kind of want people low to get those resets. So RNG, if they have a good early game, if they can take the game at their pace, control it, and then ensure that they are at objectives first, this should be a fine match for them. But if JDG pull ahead, if JDG pull off some of the magic they've had in those first 2 games, it will be rough.
And here we are, we're jumping onto the rift. JDG, one Nexus explosion away from getting a 3-0 over RNG. The reigning MSI champions, the Emperor of Spring himself, about to be knocked down into that lower bracket. It is about this game, it is about the early stage, and I want to see now what JDG and RNG can do. I will say from RNG's side, it is going to be a little bit harder for them to try and get that big advantage in bot side. I think the Xayah Leona will just have a much easier time going into the Renata and Gala pre-6, but if you can survive that, like you mentioned, it's all up to them on execution.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like the level 6 spike for RNG's mid-jungle, because pre-6, Ahri doesn't have nearly as much power, right? You don't get the resets from the ult. You don't have the ult as that mobility and extra damage tool. But also Viego, in skirmishes, he's okay pre-6, but the problem is, one, you don't get the ult reset, which is tons of damage. But also, if you go into a champion like a Leona, you want to use your cooldowns and then jump out. You can't jump out until you're 6, so I expect RNG to get a bit more pressure when they get to that point. JDG, though, they have Prio from Yagao in the laning phase on the Ryze. Kanavi is taking Ignite critically on the Hecarim, so that really adds some power to the skirmishes. And oh my god, we've already seen a lot of action.
Gala's going to have to flash. He can't stay here. He has to back himself away. I will say that. There it is. They're going to flash in. Flash forward! Didn't get the Ahri back in time, and now both AD carries summonerless. But we'll see as Xenoblade coming in as Missing is far healthier than Ming in this exchange.
This is one of the weaknesses of Renata, is that your cooldowns are so long, and you just can't really do that much. You burn your E right there is what happened level 1. You burn your E, and you can't do anything else to help your AD carry. And Gala, particularly on this Aphelios level 1, doesn't even have an ability. Now, Hope and Missing are still looking for windows, but Gala
level 2's gonna be hit first.
Yeah,
by
they
RNG.
should get the level 2. And he actually has the Q. He should actually be able to find Missing.
Yeah,
no,
not quite able to get the level 2 there for Ming. Actually, Ming wasn't in range of one of those minions, so wasn't able to get that first engage.
A lot of summoners bitten though, but I love this. This is such an LPL Leona thing, where you E in level 1, particularly when Glacial Augment started being used. You E in level 1, the snowfield's down, and you just walk at them. You auto them.
You don't need your Shield of Daybreak.
Yeah, you win at the trade just thanks to your base stats and the extra damage you get from your passive. Obviously, level 2 is a big spike for Leona, but I'm glad they're trying to apply that pressure. Cleanse and Flash being down for Gala means it is a definite gank window. But for now,
speaking of which,
he's looking mid.
Yeah, he's going to look mid. Xiaohu, remember, doesn't have the Spirit Rush and will probably end up having to use his Flash if Kanavi did fully commit there with the Q, but good for the side of RNG. He does not end up getting that, so just a little bit of early pressure. And I will say that I'm not a huge fan of those ganks, mainly because it does kind of reveal to the enemy team where you're going and what you're doing.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those situations where if you're not in a position to be punished, it's not a big deal. It's been a bit opportunistic in trying to find the window. But it doesn't really come to fruition. But, you know, you looked, you'll move down towards your bot side and clear out your red. No real capitalization. I think critically as well, if you have an idea of where Wei is, it's not as punishing. And they did get down that early ward to track him.
Yeah, well, Wei very, very unlucky there. Just as Missing came out of the brush, he gets spotted out, so they know exactly what was going on and towards his bot side. And will be a little bit of a freeze coming in here from the side of JDG. Never mind. Just
a wave position, it would end up bouncing back. And they could have like held it for longer and stacked up a big wave, but I feel like if they're not going to capitalize on it, there's not really much point. They're just going to push in, get the reset, and try and pick some items. Particularly Hope, getting an early tier on a back would be nice. Would be an situation. We've seen Yagao is reset now and picked up his, well, he already had his tier, already has the stacks, but picking up some extra health and mana there.
Despite the early skirmishing in the bot side, it is going to be a pretty quiet early game. As I say that way, he's going to find himself in that top side. They will keep 369 in check right now, using the fact that they got it early back in the top side to, you know, maybe get an advantage there, but not going to be happening. I will say that, you know, despite the Hecarim maybe having a slightly faster clear than the Viego, it is going to be the double scuttle going over to the side of Wei. So far, so good for RNG, and we talked about how level 6 is huge for them. They are halfway there.
And we see, essentially, Wei comes up top, looks for something on 369, but won't find it. The wave was pushing towards 369, so no reason for him to contest. And then we see Kanavi was actually potentially looking for a gank onto Bin, but was spotted out. So Bin won't be punished here. You know, I feel like this is something I've criticized Bin for quite extensively over the course of the split, is overextending when the jungler's near. But because of that vision provided by Wei, he's able just to play things out safely. And had a bit of a slower early game. I am looking towards those neutrals, often something that RNG do lean towards, particularly that first Herald. So they can find priority in the bot lane in particular. They can then swap up and lean towards that, but still a few minutes away.
Still a few minutes away. We are also going to see level 6s coming in very soon for these topsiders as we get first game of this season for Ming. First competitive Renata he's had. He's 0 wins and 0 losses. And I actually saw from JDG's side, 369, 14 games on the Kennen, 11 wins and 3 losses. This man is more than comfortable on this pick. And
he's played a lot of Kennen as well.
He's played a lot of Kennen. The guy knows exactly what's going on. And with the buffs coming in as well, it feels nice.
We've seen a lot of people playing Kennen in playoffs, but, you know, 369 was doing it before it was cool.
Yeah.
It just had a bit of favoritism for it. Now, Bin, this is...
got explosive
you
cast.
know your team are playing towards the bot side. Don't go for a trade.
Here we go. They're going to get the flash slicing Maelstrom going in. The ignite goes down. Bin will be able to get himself away just about. Nice explosive cast to put him away from the turret, but now he's caught between a rock and a hard place. He will have the belly flop now in about 2 seconds. He needs to just try and survive. It's going to be difficult. He's going to try and maybe take down Kanavi. Kanavi's actually in a little bit of trouble because here comes the rest of his team. It's going to be Xiaohu coming in, maybe trying to get those resets with the Spirit Rush. Not quite able to get it. Yagao flashes forward the Rune Prison. RNG get the Dragon, and importantly, they survive.
And this is standard Xiaohu, right? When you see a play going on the bot side, you expect Xiaohu to join, but often he goes and defends on the other side of the map, comes in to help Bin survive, because honestly, if Xiaohu didn't turn up, I think they probably would have just been able to get the kill onto Bin. Bit of a precarious one. He is down in farm. He missed a lot of that wave, but he does survive.
That's the big thing right now. This is what we saw from JDG in Game 1. Yes, their bot side hemorrhaged in terms of the CS and the gold, but they didn't die. They weren't giving over those more resources, those better rotations.
And critically here, right, Dragon picked up for RNG. Way up in farm. Level 6 achieved. And we are seeing the bot lane of RNG. Particularly, it was you have the Infernum from Gala finding Cryo. So I expect them to shove this next wave in. And we can start looking towards playing for that Herald on the top side. That's coming up in just 40 seconds.
Yeah, it is going to be a pretty big power spike here coming in now for RNG. They've got access to the Heartbreaker. They have access to the Spirit Rush as well. And like you mentioned, those resets should be pretty damn big. You will be waiting for your level 6 here on the bot laners, but nothing too untoward as they do have a little bit of a push. I will say, though, again, with the Xayah and the Leona, very easy for them to be able to kind of push this one back. Way is on the bot side, though, to maybe help them out.
They were kind of, RNG were playing very respectful in the bot lane there. I think they easily could have just forced the push, but they weren't too focused on it. You know, Gala could have just burned his Infernum ammo to make it happen.
Oh,
but
here we go. We're going to see the cleanse used. They're not going to try and get the pullback just yet. Gala trying to just run away. He will flash, and that's 2 summoners down on the side of RNG. But now here comes Way, maybe looking to try and catch out the side of Hope as he tries to go forward. He does have flash, but he's not going to use it. And in 8 minutes into the game, we get first blood going over to RNG.
I can see why RNG's bot lane was playing a bit cautious in that 2v2, the threat that Leona provides. But in the end, Way comes down, they're able to secure that kill, and looks like they are moving up now towards the top side.
Yeah.
They know, they expect Kanavi will start up this Herald, but he sees that they're moving. He knows he has to back away. With the member down on the map, actually, you know, going to keep it leashed and make it reset. But ultimately, RNG do respond. They will get there for the Herald and look to at least force him off it.
Yeah, you still have Heartbreaker available for Way. Remember, he got that Heartbreaker reset off of the fact that he just killed off the AD carry, so still has that available for any potential skirmishes. Ming hasn't gone back just yet, but does have the hostile takeover as we wait to see now where RNG want to prioritize. If they can catch out 369, who does not have flash, that could be huge.
Looking for it now. Bin just needs to land the cask.
Here we go. He's going to go for the belly bop. Doesn't quite land it just yet. They will get him in, but there is the slicing Maelstrom, and on top of the onslaught of shadows comes in, and they won't get the reset. It's a disaster in the top side. 2 kills to Kanavi. He was ready.
And this is the top jungle of JDG outperforming. So much was burnt from RNG, and critically, the Heartbreaker, it's an execute, right? It was used quite early on to 369. The AoE comes in, and Wade does not get the reset. Things completely change if he gets that healing, if he gets that extra rotation of abilities. But Kanavi now 2-0 on the Hecarim, able to sort of discourage RNG from doing the Herald, and now they're in a pretty comfortable spot. For the first time, we've seen a bit of a gold lead for JDG in the early game.
Yeah, well, we'll wait until 15 minutes hit, and then we'll see where it is. But again, this is just 369 going in where they can't see him, and then immediately recognizing if he just pops the slicing Maelstrom before he's stunned, he will survive.
Yeah, and it was just a bit of an early heartbreak, but also I feel like the problem was, you know, they were trying to be patient with the cask, and as a result, when he walked in the brush, like, I don't just want to blindly throw it in.
They waited
I will wait, right? And then because they waited so long, Kanavi was able to get there. Horseman, obviously very fast, and able to turn that around. Just a bit of a flub from RNG, and I think ultimately this series, top and jungle haven't been too stellar. Now, Gala's going to get forced away and losing a lot of plates on this tower already just in the 2v2. And I think this is a problem with that Renata, is you just don't have the most presence in the laning phase. You are a bit of a liability. Obviously scales exceptionally, and particularly in a game where you have like a Viego who can get resets, the W so valuable. But for now, it has been JDG's bot lane with the pressure advantage.
Yeah, and you know, looking across the board, apart from mid lane where it's fairly even, it's pretty much CS leads for everybody. I will say 369, nearly 40 CS up in that top side is pretty ridiculous. As we come in, there's the Moonlight Vigil, going to be answered back by the feathers going flying, but Hope.
Yeah.
Oh, Hope. He will pick up another. Yeah, he got a plate, and that's what he wanted. They're going to try and donate this one over to Gala. They should be able to do it no problem at all, and that is a good response here from RNG. They should be able to get a push down on this bot side. Rift Herald is going to be started, but they can trade it for Dragon, so actually RNG coming out on top in this trade.
Yeah, and I think they're happy. And honestly, interestingly enough, their last series before we went into playoffs was against OMG. All 3 games, they didn't even touch First Herald. And this was such a big change from the split, where this has been a team who'd lent so heavily towards it. It's interesting enough, we've seen in this playoff series as well, First Herald hasn't been as much of a priority. Obviously, they're down 0-2, so I can't really comment too much on that. But ultimately, Susie Bin potentially
this is
in
hard,
trouble.
though. This is very difficult for them to make it work, but Missing will go in with the Glacial Augment. They're going to try and get the Slicing Maelstrom down. It's just so much single target CC. There's not really a lot you can do there. I think Bin was caught between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like you need Merc Treads as soon as possible
Yeah.
on this Gragas, because the CC layering
on everybody.
Yeah, I mean, Make treads across the board feel like a good option here. Now, Xiaohu might have to ult here.
Lands the charm, and that should slow down Kanavi enough for him to be able to walk away. As I say that, he does get the Onslaught of Shadows out, which does force the Spirit Rush. So, trade of ultimates, I think you're happy as Kanavi.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you're quite comfortable just going back in the jungle and farming, but mitigating that pressure from the Ahri, quite important. Now, RNG managed to get that dragon on the bot side and are going to take this first tower all for Gala with no response from JDG. You know, the Herald is great, but the whole point of the Herald is you want to be getting that extra gold income.
Gala just got a full 5 plates to himself. Renata was off playing, you know, keep away with the wards, making sure that was literally 100% all him. So that's a fantastic amount of gold. So Gala's going to be able to come back with a pretty decent spike for himself, and we see how much damage this Aphelios can do as we have a look towards this top side. It's part and parcel for the that's our phrase of the series as we come in now. And Missing just goes in again, single target, not a lot you can do.
I think you kind of needed a body slam Missing to interrupt the Zenith Blade.
Maybe get rid of the slicing maelstrom.
I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the micro, right? Yeah, you're stuffed. Yeah. It might make them get a bit lower.
Unless you play that absolutely perfectly.
I think even if the other team has to misplay as well, right, is a problem. Is why I'm like shutting my point down, because it's just so hard now. JDG will get some plates on the bot side for Kanavi and Yagao off the back of the Herald. They're not getting first tower, so it's a bit rough, but they have received a lot of plates in this game because that top tower very low, so a lot of money in pocket.
Yeah, they got 4 on the top side. They're able to get the full tower now in the bot side as well. They did give over that gold to Yagao. This will be a Rift Herald. Sadly not getting another push here for JDG, but they will get a lot of damage down on the Xiaohu. And a little bit of miscommunication there between the jungler and the support. Now Missing, forced to flash away. The Heartbreaker misses. Can they get any more resets? They are trying to chase down this JDG jungler, and they will be able to get him. JDG, for the first time this series, with a rare mistake.
Yeah, making a bit of a flub there and getting punished on it, but ultimately RNG won't find too much more, and Hope is in the mid lane picking up plates, so as much as the kill is nice for RNG, not really going to be able to transition into too much else as of right now.
Did have the Moonlight Vigil with the Gravitum. I was thinking maybe he flashes in, but he was almost out of that gun anyway, so gets himself onto red and white. Sadly for RNG, it is a Cloud Dragon. It is nice for them in certain senses, but definitely would have preferred something a little bit more concrete, shall we say.
Yeah, I feel like, honestly, for JDG, you'd probably have preferred the Cloud Soul, right? Because with the Hecarim, with the Kennen, really powerful.
Seize Hecarim, Cloud Soul, baby.
Yeah, literally, that's how it is. But yeah, just a bit of an overstep from Kanavi in this situation. When you don't have ultimate as well, very easy to re-engage. But ultimately, you know, with the flash coming out from Missing, they don't get that much from it.
Look at the picture-in-picture. We are going to see Missing getting caught out again. He's probably going to go down. He has no flash because we just see it on the replay. That's just a straight-up mistake coming out from Missing. That's 2 in a row now from the Leona. And JDG, they need to be careful. Yes, you're ahead. Is that like the problem with this series? If you're ahead of 15 minutes, you lose?
It seems like that so far, you know. Whichever team has a gold lead ends up backfiring. But ultimately, just good play from RNG, looking for those picks. And that's part of the power they have between the Ahri and the Viego. They have the ability to chase a target down and up in. Yeah. You'll end up there after this play.
Yeah, Bin. This isn't a good spot for you. He hasn't even got tank stats. Like, he couldn't even survive for long enough. He's got a lost chapter, and as I say that, we're going to see in the mid lane. Gala feeling confident as he pushes forward, Missing as well, and a little bit of trouble. There's the Realm Warp. Going to lead to nothing, though, as they try to get him away. Now the TP coming in. You still have the Slicing Maelstrom coming in. Solar Flare is perfect onto Gala. There's the hostile takeover, but it's not enough to save this fight. As I say that, Missing goes in on the Zenith Blade into the stasis, and they will get the resets there for Wei. Now, do you land any more charms, any more CC? The Onslaught of Shadows comes out. It's a 3v3 in the mid lane, but you don't want this fight, JDG. You can't get the resets off, and there's going to be so much more now for the side of RNG. There's a charm going down. Can he get any more? He cannot, but that is a good response here from RNG.
They take out Gala, and you can see how confident Gala is playing with Ming as that backup. With that W to allow him to go so aggressive, but then we have the scenario where the Kennen TP's in. The W's not there. The turnaround can't come, but the extended fight, that is where RNG wins out for those longer trades. And the confidence here from Gala, right? Just charges forwards, you pop the W, remember, it gives you movement speed towards enemy champions, and he can just run Hope down. And this is why I feel, despite the lead that JDG had, going to the late stage of the game, RNG have a lot of tools to mitigate and shit. Didn't have the cooldowns for when the Kennen came in, the exhaust wasn't enough, but it actually comes back up available for Wei in the extended fight. And once you start getting resets with this comp of RNG, so difficult to deal with.
Yeah, and again, you mentioned it in pick and ban, the Ahri and the Viego getting that extra spirit push. getting the extra mobility with your ultimates is absolutely huge. And now RNG, they're going to put themselves on the sole point. It is still a win condition. Bin wants to be some kind of positive right now, so he's going to be able to try and help out Wei, but this is still RNG, despite the huge amount of pressure being put into that top side, still coming out on top of these fights.
100%. And, you know, I feel like gold's close to even, but it's like JDG, you know, Merc Treads are going to be coming out. We've already seen them for Wei. Bin has them as well. A lot of tenacity, I think, especially because Wei's going to have tenacity, I would assume, in his runes. But it just means stuns aren't really going to stick. And there's not like a ton of damage, right? You have a tank Hecarim. You're going to have a tank Ryze. This Xayah is behind, and again, she's got the lethality, the burst, not like 100 to 0 potential, especially if Wei gets like a death stance, even more so. And they even have exhaust for the Kennen. So in these extended fights, if you can't cut through things like the Bloodthirster from Gala, they're going to turn it around so much so. And I feel like that's why JDG, you know, trying to find opportunities to punish, Ming may be a target they can pick off quite easily.
Oh, well, that's Scryer's Bloom. Not going to hit anybody, sadly, for the side of RNG. And now they're in a little bit of trouble. The charm will land, but as I said, it's over a wall, so it'll go over to the side. JDG looking to see if anyone was going to go towards this second Rift Herald, which is alive and well, and they're going to start it off themselves. However, they don't have perfect vision control, and they need to be very careful with how they take these fights.
Yeah, I mean, they're going for this one. I feel like RNG, one thing to talk about is what I said of this, coming out of draft, is that RNG want to be in control of the area. They want to be there first. They want JDG coming into them, which is why, despite the fact that RNG have been confident in these fights, they don't feel comfortable approaching right now. They want to be there first, and when they aren't able, they kind of just give it over.
I mean, as well as that, like, you look at Bin, he hasn't even got his first item yet. He doesn't really want to be going into a 5v5. He's not really built for that just yet. So in a 5v4, JDG are always going to have that advantage, and RNG are happy to let that one go. It probably is going to go down in the mid lane and take that one down, but not going to be too big of a problem for RNG.
Yeah, I expect to be thrown down there. Easy, just pick up that mid-tier one, and that really opens up the map and allows for a bit deeper vision to come in from JDG. What do you think is going to be important, especially when you're playing around the Kennen? One of the big things, talking about this composition from RNG that wants to kite back, right, deal with threats that approach, if you come in from a flank on things like the Kennen, even the Hecarim, can be particularly threatening. So getting that deeper vision, allowing 369 to use that teleport, is something that JDG have been stellar at throughout the split. That's why the Kennen has worked so well for them. They find those angles, those opportunities, even when they're at a deficit, of getting 369 into and on the backline.
All right, 2 minutes 30, a little bit more than that till the next dragon spawns. That is Cloud Soul, which at this stage of the game, 21 minutes into the game, that is significant. That is a significant buff to have for your team.
Go fast.
You definitely go fast, and you're going to mitigate a lot of the slows as well. You know, Glacial Augment not as powerful, but that's neither here nor there. RNG, they're going to be looking to try and maybe make something work. Where do you want to see them work around it? Do they even go for this dragon? Do they just use it as a buffer to keep themselves relevant later in the stages of the game?
I think, you know, as they're approaching the objective, you can look to try and establish vision in the area, try and contest that mid-prio, especially when JDG throw down the Herald. The critical thing is trying to maintain control of the Dragon Pit and the river around it, because if JDG are funneling in, that's where you find it favorable. And for JDG, I feel like, you know, if you use the Herald to get prio and you get in first, that's where you can potentially start to threaten, right? If RNG force forwards, a TP flank can come in, you can find these angles of approach. I think playing around vision is vitally important. But as you can see, Bin finds an opportunity to move from bot, and they are just constantly trying to do their best to maintain control.
Yeah, you can move from bot, but he was spotted there on a ward that was sitting in the pixel bush. So now we'll see what the side of RNG want to do. They are getting collapsed upon. I think they need to realize they are sitting on vision. No one's really walking towards them. They are not really in a position to kind of catch anybody out. TP going to be used by Xiaohu to get himself back into mid lane just to cover for this Rift Herald fight, but just over a minute now until Dragon spawns, and we are looking at potentially another big fight. Big important notice right now, as I say, that Hope, huge. He won't have that ultimate now for the next fight.
Yeah, so a tool down for Hope, does still have summoners, but critically, RNG have grouped early because they don't want the Herald to get thrown down. But if you look at the side lanes, Yagao has pushed in bot, 369 is going to push in top lane, so a lot of minions going to be missed, and you see Bin's actually moved bot to answer that. So this is now a window where JDG can look to group up and then apply pressure. But RNG are forcing to have control of the area by having Xiaohu lift with them. Looks like they might even just sacrifice those minions in top because they are so hell-bent on maintaining control of the area.
I mean, the soul is their goal right now. Soul is the goal.
Soul is their goal.
Soul is the goal right now for RNG. And again, they are the ones 0-2 down in this series. They are the ones basically playing best of ones until they win 3 in a row. That is how this game goes right now for RNG. So they have to maintain control. Banshee's Veil was picked up for Xiaohu. Xiaohu, you have a Bloodthirster. Quick look at all summoners available except for Xiaohu's teleport. This is going to be a full 5v5 missing. Oh, thank God.
What a great ward.
Great ward missing. Well done, you.
And now you can see 369 and Kanavi hiding in the brush. Yagao on the flank. And remember, I think if they just charge train RNG, they will struggle. Hostile takeover, fantastic there.
Go.
They aren't really finding a flank angle. It's going to come down to the smite.
Here we go. Both junglers are there. It's a smite fight, but it's not even taken by the junglers. It's secured by the Aphelios. They try to get 369. He didn't get the positioning right. The Moonlight Vigil goes off. We built it up. Nothing happened but soul to RNG.
He tried to realm over and over and he botched it. He didn't even get over the wall. I mean, I feel like it was probably a bit late, right? RNG will be backing away. But regardless, they end up getting the dragon. They are going to go for a reset here, and they are losing out. This Herald is going to push in bot tier 2, and I think because of the resets, they might just look for mid tier 1 as well. This is a lot of damage being done. Sure, RNG gets soul. I'm not going to say it wasn't worth it, but they are losing a lot in return.
Yes, they absolutely are, and we are going to see them now stop just shy of the inhibitor, so they will not be able to get that. But there's a charm down onto Missing. Gets himself about a third of his HP taken out by Xiaohu, who has gone a bit more of a defensive build. Like we mentioned, he has the Banshees to keep himself safe. Now in mid lane, RNG are maybe fishing, looking for something. Kanavi, though, in a little bit of trouble, has been caught out and taken out. Now they can reset. Now they can keep pushing forward and look to try and make this one work. The heal onto Missing is good to keep him alive for now. The flash has been buffered by this hope, but there's going to be a flank there from 369. He will not get anything else, and now all of a sudden now RNG, they can run towards the Baron.
Yeah, jungler down, they can head towards it. They did use a lot of tools, but they still have the hostile takeover.
369! They catch him out, and they're going to be able to push him back. He will be taken out and taken away from this fight. RNG are pulling the strings. They are puppeteering this match right now, and they are dragging JDG across the stage.
They're using the lack of vision around the Baron so effectively to look for these plays again and again to find the picks. Now, they took out 369. He has teleport, and Kanavi is back up, but I think they're too slow. They're not going to get them in time. The DPS from this team means Baron is secured, and RNG, after a disastrous game 1 and 2, they realize they're able to take this one in the mid game using these reset tools from the Viego, from the Ahri, using these picks so effectively.
And RNG now finally in this game have themselves a gold lead. It's probably going to be taken away now.
All they had to do was lose early. That's
lose early, but not by a lot. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. But it is a dead even game in terms of the gold. It is going to be a soul now. But the thing is, you have the Baron as we look at this replay. Elder spawning in 4 minutes.
I think it's just so good. It's a lack of vision over there. The flash engage from Bin, just given no opportunity. And also, I love the cast. Cast him away from his team, but not into his team with the Kennen.
Oh, they found another pick right here, and Kanavi gets caught. RNG are doing what JDG did to them in game 1. As we can see, they catch him as well. They're not able to get the minions up in time, but that's a teleport down. That summoner's not available. RNG are running with this.
And that's so big. The teleport for Kennen is one of the best tools for JDG, and it is now unavailable.
Here we go.
They're going to push up with that Baron. Bear in mind, Wei now has Stopwatch and a Death Dance as well as his Divine Sundra, so he is so hard to take out, and I feel like JDG are just behind the curve. They really cannot cut through RNG, and they win so well in those extended fights.
They're just taking everything, top lane, mid lane. They're going for all these turrets because they know, again, we talked about it in pick and ban. You are such a very short range composition. It is hard for you to get up on top of these minions. Mid lane tier 2 goes down. They can now rotate back up and try and use it. They still have Baron for a minute and a half.
Yeah, they're getting so much off the back of this.
Oh, Moonlight Vigil. Not quite able to get enough
Just
damage.
gonna poke them out, that's enough.
Yeah, and then look at Wei. Wei's 1v2 right now. They're going to push forward onto Missing, who does not get hit by anything. Eventually gets hit by the Everfrost. Will not go down. We will see the cleanse used by Gala and a flash. He might have gone a little bit too far here.
There's
the Hawktail takeover. They didn't take out the turret before they can really disengage. That was a little bit risky.
Guys, you kill the turret, then you go past it. Like, I'm looking, I'm like, they're so deep. And it's not being taken out.
League of Legends 101.
Yeah, a little bit scrappy, a little bit messy. But I just want you to picture that moment, right? If Kennen had TP.
Yeah.
If Kennen had TP and could flank there, that could have been the moment to get back in.
There was even a ward on the blue buff.
Yeah, so the fact that 369 didn't have TP, honestly a godsend for RNG there, and a bit of a pain point for JDG. That was absolutely a window to get back in. But ultimately, RNG reset, they spend a lot of gold, and they're going to start making a push on the bot side. That tier 2 is still available. They'd love to close that out with the last 40 seconds of the Baron if possible. But they don't really have much of a wave for now. They're just going to push in and get control of this Dragon area. Remember, it's a minute 40 until Elder.
Oh, Missing. He's going to take a lot of damage here. He can't move. He can't go anywhere. He doesn't have flash. And he is dead. Now you do not have your support, your main warding position. Yeah. In a minute and a half, the Elder is spawning. You can't walk in here. Exactly. This is not your jungle.
Like, the Leona's going to be back up, but without being able to contest a vision, you're put into such a rough spot. They'll use the last of the Baron to try and push in on this tier 2 in the bot lane, and should actually just be able to get this, honestly. There's going to be more gold in pocket. You can see a reset come out from Gala and Ming here just to buy as much as possible. 3 items for that Aphelios going into this, and it's a 3,500 gold lead. We've definitely seen much bigger gold leads in this series in the LPL. But RNG, if they have control of the Dragon area, it feels so hard for the enemy team.
Deja vu. Deja vu. I've seen this exact play. They don't land the CT, but they get the onslaught of shadows. That's your big, unstoppable ultimate. 50 seconds until the Dragon spawns. RNG, they're just destroying JDG.
Yeah, I think they are doing... Just compared to game 1 and 2, especially, their mid game was so sloppy.
It's a different team.
Yeah, completely. And they know their win con is to have control of the area. We saw earlier how they were willing to sacrifice waves to make sure Xiaohu was there so they had control. They have that now. There's a couple of wards. You can see JDG moving in, but Kanavi, you have to be so careful. Wei will scout out 369. And the critical thing I've been saying all game, flanks for JDG. If they can find a route to get the Kennen behind, that's well worked. The Realm Warp is a way you can cheat to get in behind the enemy team, but if you just dive straight towards RNG, they will love that.
And also, as well as that, yes, the Realm Warp is a way to cheat in, but the Realm Warp is so telegraphed. If they see it coming,
it's not subtle.
Yeah, it's not a subtle ability, as we can now see the Dragon has spawned. This is a 28-minute Elder Dragon. You still have soul for RNG. They don't need to go for this. They can just go right straight towards the mid lane if they need to. It's going to be so close.
You can't sack the Elder, though. They will pull over, but they're making sure there's no flanks possible to come out, right? You see Yagao and 369 hovering. They are going to potentially look for the Realm Warp combo to go in.
Here we go. Xiaohu now in the back of this. Missing, has to flash away. He's lost it. There's the Realm Warp coming in, but they know it's coming. They know it's telegraphed, and they're going to jump straight on top of him. The exhaust comes down a little bit too late. Xiaohu has to run away. There's the hostile takeover, though, and stops all the momentum. That was huge. They will be able to try and trade this one back, though, as they get the resets, and Wei is running away with this fight. I will say, though, Hope does a hell of a lot of damage, but not as much as this Viego. This game is all but done. The Heartbreaker over the side stops Yagao from getting anything more, and that's a 5 for 2 and Elder Drake.
And honestly, it was a good attempt from JDG, right? They got the Realm Warp flank on, they found that angle, you saw how much damage it did, but you're down in gold. You're playing up against RNG's composition, which deals so well with engaged threats, and they're able to turn around. Scrappy, sure, but at the end of the day, they're going to secure that Elder Dragon, and things are looking dire for JDG.
They're going to even wait until everybody spawns, because guess what? Elder Drake, you probably want it on your damage carries. You probably want it on Xiaohu and Gala. They know they can do this. They can just wait around. Even Ming saying, look, I'll stay here with you, buddy. Don't worry, I'll hold your hand. And they are going to be able to take this one now, and this is a huge moment there. I feel like that was it for JDG. I think they had to get it there, because of Baron in 30 seconds, I don't think they're going to be able to contest it.
Yeah, and now they have full Elder on everyone on the team. They can have the Baron, so hard to contest. And again, this is the thought process. This is the right plan. The ult coming in from the Kennen is huge. Great AoE CC, great damage. And critically, Gala repositions to get away, right?
Everybody was hit by the hostile takeover.
Yeah, it's the turnaround. It's so effective against the composition JDG has. And as much as you see great play from Hope to burst out Gala, the resets start coming in, right? We have Wei charging forwards as a horse, able to then ult out the back as well. Him being so strong is such a problem, and this is why we often saw this pick banned away from him, because he's such a powerful user of the Viego.
Yeah, and with Elder Drake, yeah, JDG, you can't contest this. You may try and look for it, but that was your one flank ward. Probably going to die. Oh, it didn't die just yet. Now it will die. They know that it's the only way they can get back into this fight, but JDG now against an Elder, against a Baron. There's so many buffs here. A bit of a missmite there from Viego, but RNG now, they need to try and end this game.
Well, the good news is that they used that time to push the waves that deeply, and a lot of the Elder was actually used up, right?
Yes.
They still have a minute 25, and basically JDG need to stall for that amount of time, and then when it's just a Baron, that's when you can potentially look for an engage. But until that point, you can't really fight the Elder, especially when you're at such a deficit, so it is just stall and clear minion waves. We saw 369 get a deep push in the bot lane, and you can see bot lane for RNG are pushing mid, while Xiaohu's trying to push in the top lane, and JDG just trying to ebb and flow, clear out the minions. It feels like they're doing a pretty good job, honestly, of managing this so far, but now the big mid lane push comes in. We'll see if JDG can mitigate this.
Here we go. You got a minute left in this Elder. There's going to be the...
Oh my... Where'd he go?
Where did he go? Excuse me? And look at Gala now, just free hitting, running rampant. Bin finally becomes relevant in this game, and the game's done.
Yeah, never mind. You know, I'm talking about just you need a mitigate. Gala just walks forwards and one hit AD carry, and the game is done. RNG looking to start off a potential reverse sweep with a very convincing win. to put it at 2-1.
2-1 to RNG. Sorry, RNG. To JDG. RNG bouncing back. It is one game. They still have to do 2 more. They are still 1 loss away from getting knocked down into the losers bracket. But that was a much better RNG than we've seen all this series.
Oh, 100%. And I feel like the thing is, they went behind early, but I like the comp. I liked how it functioned into JDG's composition. They had great itemization choices with Merc being very effective. They also had the reset potential. It's like you dive in, you have the Renata W, you have the Viego, you have the Ahri, all of them able to reset, and they could just push back in and re-engage. And even when we saw JDG play their comp how I wanted it with the flank for the Kennen, they were a bit too behind, but also it wasn't enough. So JDG, they still have a comfort zone, right?
Yep.
But RNG finally show up, right? It's been 3.5 weeks and 2 games, and they're finally here to play.
Absolutely. And honestly, the Viego was key. It looked so good for Wei. It looked so comfortable for him. And getting those things like the Lee Sin and the Volley Bear off the table, I think that's where your bans need to be.
Yep.
Like, you clearly see that the Ryze isn't an issue. The mid lane is fine in the second rotation of bans. You just need to hit that jungle pool early.
I think the thing is with the Ryze is like the Ryze is very different when you're playing for Kanavi's Lee Sin.
Yes.
That's when it's like, whoa. Well, like the Hecarim just never really came to fruition for him. And ultimately, we also got Wei's former one-trick champion in the Viego, which is something they so heavily lent on, which worked so well for them. So I think JDG definitely have responses to this, primarily ban the Viego. I definitely feel like they've had a bit more comfort in terms of deciding what they want to ban. But ultimately, RNG a much-needed win. Much needed
is probably putting it a little lightly. It was essential as such.
Slightly. Yeah. If they didn't win there, they would have lost. And then they would have lost the series. So
if they
I
don't
wasn't
win
wrong.
Here, I think you said that to me yesterday. We were on Discord watching the games. It was like 0-2 to Top Esports. You're like, if Top Esports lose this 3rd game, I don't think they can come back in the series. I was like, really?
If RNG
you were correct. If
RNG lost that game, I feel like the chances in the series would have been drastically lower.
Yeah.
Which is this is the analysis I'm here to provide.
You know what? You are correct. You are technically correct. The best kind of correct.
Yeah.
But again, I think for JDG though, you are going to almost certainly go back onto the red side of this next game, and this is where we start to see if this adaptation sticks for RNG, because we've had 2 games on blue side where they got honestly just smashed. They smashed on red side, so maybe it's a red side diff. Maybe it's just giving the teams more time to pick what they need. But
this is hilarious because we had the JDG Weibo series. Blue side won every single game.
Yep.
And so far this series, red side's won every single game. So what have we learned?
Nothing.
Nothing.
All I know is that ex-pro players will put out hot takes of X side is broken. If you don't pick X side, you're trolling.
But also, I feel like something we've seen that's really interesting so far in playoffs is series will develop like their own mini metas between the teams, and sometimes teams will lean more towards one side priority in that series. Whereas like JDG against Weibo, blue side was really important, getting that first pick, leading towards things as well. We often saw the Ahri taking on red side 1-2, and then the Vegas, as a response. But it's been things like coming out this one, things like the Xayah were obviously prioritized quite heavily. Things like the Volley Bear haven't worked or have been banned away. And it feels like teams have been pretty good at sort of responding to what needs to be taken off the cards. Things like the Lee Sin taken away, and then you have 2 picks to come in and find yourself favor.
I mean, it does feel like the trade-off of 1 for 2. There's just so many things in the meta right now. There's so many things that you need to be so wary of that it's hard to cover every single base. And I feel like right now, again, even though the bot lane was very pivotal for both teams, it's not about the bot lane. It's about everything else around it.
That's the thing. You look at this situation, right? We had the Ahri come in 3rd pick, and then RNG banned away things that would make it difficult, right? The Veigar, the LeBlanc trimmed away. Yes, the Ryze has priority early, but it's not really too much of a threat. And then we saw, again, the fact that on red side, you also get counter pick, which is something that JDG, I mean, that was a weird thing that in the JDG series, despite blue side winning every game, they got counter pick for 369 4 games out of 5. But I feel like, in this series, being on red side, it can potentially, you pick something, you ban away counters, and you could also get that final counter pick for whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we know we put a lot of pressure on emphasis on the bin counter pick. Gragas didn't do a lot. I'm going to be totally honest. Gragas didn't do anything, really. He was kind of just a stun bot towards the end of the game.
That's all you need. Yeah. That's all you need to do on Gragas.
One good belly bop.
Hey, that's the thing. As long as you're not giving 369 the freedom to pick what he wants, he has to pick Kennen, which we all know he really doesn't like to pick.
No, he loves it.
Yeah,
he loves it.
But the thing is, it's like, you can't necessarily, like things like the Jace into the Graves, very comfortable. Picking the Scion into the Jace and the Xayah, again, it's a scenario you're very comfortable with. He has to go with less information, which I think is definitely impactful here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, RNG not dead in this series just yet. We will see, though, in Game 4,